In the jungle of game boxes, there is so much to find, but the reason I do a side-by-side comparison, particularly with these models, because they are quite interesting. Both have like a pros and cons, and I just wanted to help you out. What should you pick if you're having like two different choices? Because this is the normal S905 models, and this is the S905X3. And if people have no idea what I'm talking about, that I'm also going to explain today. So Android boxes, they are basically being delivered with a program called emulec. Take consideration, you can just download it for free and you just make yourself an Android box. But these are like ready to go, and I mean like it comes including like the controllers and everything you need to slap on your games. But you have like kind of different versions. Think about like the S905 isn't like a chipset that we're also like finding in a lot of different boxes, especially the first generation of Super Console X. The reason I wanted to do a video about this is because it's quite confusing with all the Android boxes, but this is a particularly interesting model. Both have like a very interesting thing to them, and you can already see like the casing is absolutely cool. Like if you don't like translucent, Alpha comes in, I think was like this semi-translucent and also like a black version. So that is not a problem if you don't like the translucent in general. But the reason I love these is not only like the translucent case, but it's just the performance this thing brings to the table. So when you're looking at these two models, they have like a lot of stuff in common. But the thing that makes them like different is just the chipset they're using. Of course, I'm opening this bloody thing up on the wrong side. But inside the box, we're going to get all kinds of paperwork, what we're going to talk about later. So this is like the same kind of case, but you will see that thing have like a different kind of model. I must say like there are two different versions at the moment of this version. We have the Super Console X Max Plus, and this is also known as the HN3. So we have like different, but basically the chipset itself is exactly the same, and also the thing that it can do. But the reason I want to make like a side-by-side with these like translucent boxes, because in my opinion these are absolutely the best you can get at the moment. And I'm not talking about the most powerful one, no. By far, they are like not the most powerful. But I think the price and the value is absolutely amazing. And not even to talk about the cooling and the way that they made this. But let's talk about the first model. This is the S905. They call it like you have the L, the X, you know, like kind of, but just let's say this is the S905. They come on all kinds of, let's say, variations when it comes to the size. It's just basically a difference when it comes to the SD card. So that doesn't really matter. But what does matter is this thing has a lot to offer. It got them with better cooling, in my opinion, a great case. The fan doesn't make like a lot of noise. We have like all the functionality we're needing if you want to play up to PlayStation 1. And I think that makes this thing really appealing to like a broad audience. People just want to play some old school retro games and don't want to spend like a shitload of money on things, and they just want to have something that has like good cooling and just in general great performance. And I think this basic model, the S905, is just more than enough. I think most people will have enough on this. So when it comes to the specifications, it's not going to be very interesting. It's just an AM Logic TV box, the P212. It's a really old spec, 1 GB of RAM in total. And then we're going to get ourselves the ARM Cortex A53 that runs on 1512 MHz. So when it comes to the specs, it's similar to the normal Super Console X. So let's get into the display. Here you can see it revs the Mali 450 MP. So this is a very old GPU, and the Android is in 7.1.2. So also this is prehistoric tech, and it's a rooted device, so you cannot watch Netflix on full HD and higher. But the system itself, I do like it. I really like what I'm seeing over here. So now with the first edition we had like our basic casings, but now they are like putting some more effort in it. Here you can see like we're having the translucent edition. I think there was like a black translucent and another like a white edition. Something like you have different colors, but what you can see, basically they slapped an Android box inside this acrylic box, and we're going to get this time a very big fan at the top. Curious if this thing is going to be like sounding like a freaking vacuum cleaner. So but let's do a quick overview of the system itself, what we're actually going to get. So on this side we can find the SD card. This is the tiny edition, the 64 GB. Then we're going to get two USB 2.0. So at the back we're going to get the RJ45 Ethernet connection, the HDMI out, input for the power supply, the on and off switch, something you don't see very often with some of these boxes, and then we're going to get an output for digital out. But let's do a quick overview of the system itself. Yeah, we're not going to do a teardown because you can basically see what's inside. I personally really love this, but that's of course my personal opinion. So at the back we're going to get over here a RAM chip. Then we're going to get here, and it's quite interesting, they did a soldering over here for the plus and minus for the fan that goes all the way up here. But another thing that I find interesting is that this thing, the production date. When you're looking at this, here you can see like they're using still the S95X chips version 1.2, but you can see like this thing is brand new when I was reviewing it. So this thing is made in 2021. Yeah, so basically that is what you're going to get with this model. It's not like really old tech or e-waste. No, it's like actually like a new product that they slapped inside a casing. It's quite interesting. You would expect that they're using old parts. Another thing I wanted to check out, like how loud is this fan? So let's grab my microphone and I will let you hear it. And you can just not hear the fan itself because this thing is super silent. But okay, so what are we going to get with this device? So basically what you can do with the ME-LX side, it runs on 3.9, is a little bit of an older version now. It's a little bit of a bummer in my opinion, but still it doesn't spoil the fun because we can still play a lot of stuff that we couldn't play before with basic, let's say, game consoles from AliExpress and Pandora's boxes, stuff like that. So compatibility also for the really old stuff that is possible to play on this box. And of course, compared with other ones I've reviewed here on the channel, now we're having basically better cooling. And depending of course what kind of model. So we're going to test it out some games that most of the time have some issues when it comes to these cheap boxes, because this is basically what it is. Even this is just a brand new released kind of product. Still, they're using old low power chips. So let's start off with a really high demanding game, or high demanding. It's high demanding for cheap chips that they are using most of the time, let's put it that way. Sometimes we're going to get some mixed performance, especially when it comes to Atomus Wave. These are just really demanding. So let's play a part of the game just to see what are we going to get. Because especially with a later part of the game, you will see that it will start to stutter. The part like this. So where a lot of these Super Console X devices have issues, this one, you can just hear it that it struggles. It struggles getting this to work. Maybe with some tinkering with the ME-LX you can get some better performance, but most of the cheap devices we have reviewed here on the channel have the similar issues. But with Sega Dreamcast we're going to get a very good support for many games. You can see it with Sonic Adventure 2. The game runs very well. So far so good, no stuttering whatsoever. Okay, next up, let's try some arcade. Take consideration, these boxes don't run Killer Instinct. I like the really demanding games, or Tekken Tag, stuff like that. So you're basically limited to Mortal Kombat. Oh, damn it! What? And what I really like about these Android-based boxes is that the emulation for Sega Mega Drive is like excellent. In my opinion, spot on. And basically all the old stuff will run just fine. But when it comes to N64, yeah, this is just a system that will always struggle on these cheap boxes. Most of the time when I'm going to make a review about a Bodasera with a mini PC, then we can basically play this game flawlessly. But with a cheap box, absolutely not. But with N64 it is not always that bad. These cheap boxes will run most of the games on just native resolution. They will look okay, but it's not the best. Of course, if you have more juice, we can basically play it on high resolution and we're going to get better performance. Okay, next up, let's try PlayStation Portable. And yeah, when you're having a system like this, it's super demanding. And with some two-dimensional games, you will see some minor glitching, but it's still playable. So take consideration, PlayStation Portable, it's possible, but there will be a mixed performance when it comes to the system. But what about the other version, the S905X3? Already said it, it's the X3 model, it's a different chip and it is of course more powerful. But what will bring this thing to the table when it comes to playing some video games? So the first thing you need to take consideration that this thing is not like an extreme emulation beast. This thing has a little bit more to offer when it comes to the previous model. To begin with, the auto model will only run on EmuELEC 3.9 and this will be using the EmuELEC later editions, think about 4.2 up to 4.5. And the convenient thing is we do get like more emulator support, different kind of things, and some games like Atomic Wave runs slightly better, and the same goes for Sega Dreamcast. Of course, this thing does still have like a lot of, like, say, problems. Think about like PlayStation Portable, this is absolutely, when I say unplayable, there are some games that will run okay, but the same story goes for N64. And that is something that doesn't make any sense if you think about it. But unfortunately, this is just what it is. To begin with, like, this box is absolutely improved in many different ways. For the people familiar to the channel, the Super Console X lineup is a kind of a mess. It's a jungle, like the Pandora's box jungle. We have so many devices, but this thing brings something new to the table, especially when it comes to the casing itself. Okay, so this is the brand new version we have reviewed in the last years. We have reviewed all kinds of Super Console game boxes, but this thing is completely new. The shape is very nice. We do have like a black and translucent and like an ice color that's like semi like translucent. I really love like this thing, how it looks. It comes in a very nice fan at the top, like the previous one that have been soldered straight into the mainboard over here. They even use some hot glue, so when it comes to the teardown in this video, it's not necessary, of course, because we can already see what's in here. So we do have like all the RAM chips at the back and at the front. Later on we'll talk about like the specification list. So when you're looking over here how they made everything, they did a great job. Like they did like implement like a very tiny passive cooling block, but I think it's more than enough because we have an active cooling. But let's take a close look at the connections. At the front we're going to get ourselves like this old school display that we have seen before with Android boxes, because guess what? This thing is an Android box, or the base of it. On this side, we're going to get ourselves the USB 3.0 port, and its SD card. There's 64, 128 and 256 gigabyte. And take consideration the bigger is not always better, simply because, yeah, the problem with that is that we do have like a lot of like game pack solutions, but not everything has been configured correctly. We do get an extra USB 2.0, and at the back we're going to get even some more ports. Okay, we're going to get ourselves the internet, the RG45, then we're going to get a jack out. We do have an HDMI out. We even have like an optical out, and of course the input for the power supply. There is no on and off switch. I understand there was like the previous one, like the first one with the S905 chip that has like an on and off switch. The X3 one didn't have one, and this one doesn't either have this one, because the Android boxes don't support it, so far I understand, with most of these things. So we do have an on and off switch over here, so that's going to be super convenient if you just want to turn it off. So that's a very positive thing. I'm guessing they're like listening to us and basically like try to improve it, even it's like a basic solution like this. But let's talk about the software itself. I think there we're going to get like the biggest improvement. So it's running on a later model than 3.9 like the previous box. We're going to pay a little bit more for it, but also with the new EmuELEC version, we do have like a lot of options when it comes to new emulators. I think it's pretty damn cool. And with a slightly like performance bump, we do have like better performance with Sega Dreamcast, for example. N64 will run a couple of games a little bit better. It's still problematic on these Android boxes. But again, there are like a lot of new platforms that run pretty damn good now. So that's the reason I think the S905X3 isn't, a little bit price up, but also a bump up when it comes to performance and the stuff you can do with it. Okay, so let's start off with Sega Saturn just to see how this runs. Okay, control seems to be working. I'm just going to be honest, like I tested out a lot of these devices, and in the past I've noticed like they didn't configure every single thing. So let's see how it will run. Let's choose one, play versus CPU, race start. So far so good. It's a three-dimensional racing game, so it's more demanding than the other stuff. What they're also like doing a lot of times, they're just slapping on like some two-dimensional stuff. Yeah, and two-dimensional stuff, if something runs okay, then it's like the two-dimensional stuff. Okay, so when you're looking at the overall performance, it's not bad at all, especially if you think about it. It isn't like a quite, let's say, on the powered box. It's interesting they can like manage to get a lot of these games to be working right. Don't mind the gameplay, I absolutely suck at this game, but we're looking like a weird knockoff Wipeout game, but okay. But so far, so good. But here it goes again. But the main reason I just tried this game, I just wanted to see how it runs. But again, I think it's just some reconfiguration that's needed. Alright, so next up, let's try some N64. This will always be the system that doesn't run perfectly on the machine, but some games are playable. One of my favorite games I like to try out, Blast Cars. I play this game so much. So much fun to play. But also a great example like how good it will run. You can already hear like it got some minor hiccups. But it's still playable. Alright, so next up let's jump into MAME. And with MAME I'm going to test out Mortal Kombat 2. Mortal Kombat 1 will run just fine on these boxes, but just Mortal Kombat 2 and 3 will give some issues sometimes. So let's see how they will run. So far so good. Yeah, so that's pretty cool. So when you're looking at these boxes, we now have like the option to play like the other MAME games. Oh, by the way, like if you think about Killer Instinct, like more demanding Tekken, you just need to have more power. So that will not work on this device. Okay, so next up let's jump into PlayStation Portable. So one thing is for sure, is like these boxes cannot run God of War or the really demanding games. But I'm curious like how and what we're going to get. So we are running now at, let's see, 30 FPS. So this thing is able to run some casual games. But it will notice here, you can see like when there's a lot of action going on, it dips back to the 20. Okay, so next up is Sega Dreamcast. I've noticed with these chipsets, we do get some better performance, especially when you're looking at the first generation of the Super Console X machines. We do have like the speed that we need to have with this game. Oh crap, oh crap. So we have two game boxes, but which one is the best one for you? That's quite easy. So if you're just like the person who want to play some MAME, some old school 8-bit, 16-bit stuff, I think if you're going to get yourself like this basic game box, they're like dirty cheap nowadays and they're just more than powerful enough. I really love it the way how they made it, the cooling, everything, it's just a great piece of technology. But if you want to have a little bit better performance, think about you want to have better performance Sega Dreamcast, then of course the new version is of course like the best thing to get, because this has like slightly more power, and with the more power we have like better performance. Think about Sega Dreamcast, PlayStation 1, stuff like that still runs on a native resolution, but again like it's a little minor bump up when it comes to emulation performance. So basically this is like in my opinion the best choices. So for the people who don't want to spend a lot of money and want to get old school stuff, this is just fine. People want to have like just a little bit more power, newer MI like with more options, then of course this is another choice. Let me know in the comments what do you think of my decision of this battle. Which one do you like? Thanks for watching, consider subscribing, and it would be great to see you in the next video.